Hey, good morning, everybody. Good morning, early afternoon, depending on what time zone you're in. I figured let's just hang out and talk about radar detectors. And specifically, I kind of wanted to talk about road trip radar detectors. If you're doing a cross country trip or just doing a longer drive. I'm actually working right now. The reason I wanted to talk about this, I'm actually working right now on a video, kind of the best radar detectors. So a lot of you guys have asked about like Unit R7 versus V1 Gen 2 versus Redline 360C. So this past week, I've literally spent 2 days straight just working on the kind of outline, like going over all the points that I want to talk about, the flow, the order, all that kind of stuff. So just not the script, so to speak, but kind of like the outline of all the different points. So that's been literally 2 days straight going over that. Then I also want to do a follow-up video going over like the best kind of mid-price detectors, that kind of stuff. So that's going to be my plan for next week. Plus, in kind of the middle of September, I'm actually going to be heading off and doing a road trip from Atlanta to Seattle. My mom's here for a quarantine, and like apparently this is going to last for a while, and so I'm going to head back, grab all of her stuff out of the storage unit, her car, all that kind of stuff, and bring it back on over here to Seattle. That trip's probably going to take about 5-6 days or so. So I've been thinking about kind of my setup with radar detectors. I'll probably take multiple detectors. I'll bring radar guns and multiple cameras and dash cams and a bunch of detectors, honestly, just to switch between them for fun. So I've been thinking about like the main video or the main detectors that I want to take, the Redline 360C, V1 Gen 2, JBV1, plus maybe some stuff to take for fun, things that I don't necessarily run as often. I don't know, like an Escort Solo or just goofy detectors, things that I don't necessarily run just for the sake of entertainment and fun for the drive. I figured that would be fun too. But I figure for this video, we can kind of just hang out and talk about road trips. I see, Daniel, you'd mentioned your Max 360C did excellent on your 1,800-mile road trip. Yeah, that's a good choice. I figure we can just kind of go into it. There's not really one detector that's only going to be the good choice and like everything else sucks or something. There's a lot of good detectors, which I guess we're really fortunate, to have a lot of good choices. But I figure we can just start diving into the different options. Now, as far as for me, maybe to simplify it, what I'm planning on running is my primary detector. It's going to be V1 Gen 2 paired with JBV1. Great performance, false alert filtering, arrows, that kind of stuff. But I think kind of what makes it special over something like the Redline 360C, for example, is going to be the JBV1 app. You've got your cloud-sourced alerts. You've got weather information, which is nice for road trips. The detector can kind of reprogram itself as I drive through the country. I like the aircraft notifications that I don't get with the Escort. That's going to be a big one. The Escort can kind of notify you of like, this is a place where police commonly do speed traps, but it's not where they actively are right now. And I love JBV1 can actually just go in and let me know where aircraft are going, which is, again, kind of an extra layer of protection that I don't get from just the radar detectors or just the laser jammers or just Waze or something, So I like having as many layers as possible. See, Godowski, you're mentioning took an R7 from New York to Montana and back. Need ultra long range for all those deserted Western highways and instant on. Wouldn't rely on anything else. Yeah, definitely. A long range detector is going to be a must. There's no point of taking like a poor performing detector when you can get something that actually works awesome. So at least in my mind, let's see. Attaboys 4Z, Redline 360C has been a champion for the last few road trips. Still needs some arrow fine tuning. Yeah, that's a good choice too. I've been kind of comparing like these two recently. The arrows seem to be working better here, but I find that in general, the arrows here flip a little bit faster than they do here. So, differences. I'm finding none of these detectors are perfect, and that's one of the reasons why I'm still like, let's get different detectors and all. Bond Scalper, any updates to the R3? Not recently. I know there's a beta firmware that they're wanting to release. I have no idea when. It seems like, as you guys know, their speed of releasing stuff is definitely slowed down. So we're sitting on beta firmware for R7 and R3. I have no idea when they're going to release it, but hopefully soon. I literally have the post ready to go on my website of like, click the button and all the info is out, but I'm just literally waiting on Uniden to decide if they want to release it. So let's see, Matthew, you're saying R7 from Miami to Atlanta worked like a charm. Totally. Yeah, the R7 is a great choice too. I mean, obviously really popular detector with the arrows and long range stuff, and $500, all self-contained. You don't need an app the way you do with maybe some other detectors. Just kind of does everything on its own. So that's a great choice too. I personally am kind of leaning away from the R7 just because of the blind spot filtering. I find that the latest Escorts and the Valentines and the Rodensos, kind of everything else at this point, is getting better blind spot filtering than the R7 does. And that's really the main reason I've started leaning away from the R7. I know detectors like this don't detect the multi-radar and stuff, but I'm not going to need it for highway road trips. So, you know, so that's kind of why I'm leaning away from the R7. But in terms of range and built-in GPS, obviously that's great. Nothing bad to say about that. Let's see, Godowski, are you going to be taking the southern route and up through California? I'm kind of deciding, like, I kind of want to take the more direct route through the country, and I'd love to go through, like, South Dakota and stuff. Why is my camera out of focus? Focus, camera. So I'm kind of wanting to go through, like, places that I haven't really spent time in. So I'd love to cut through South Dakota. I haven't spent time in there. I was thinking of doing the southern route and coming up through Washington or through California, only if, for whatever reason, the weather's bad and I not wanted to, like, go through the mountains and stuff with the moving truck and a trailer and all that kind of stuff, towing my mom's car. So I'll do that if the weather is bad, but if the weather is nice, I'd like to actually do the more direct route. Let's see, N, and then a bunch of cool Arabic looking letters. I was in New York going to Boston and the R7 wasn't working. Do you know, what do you mean by it wasn't working? Was it not alerting to police radar cars, or was it falsing, or what do you mean by not working? Night Owl Tech, let's see, did the R3 back from New York and they have blind spot filters. It needs better firmware to come and address that. Yeah, that's the main thing with the R series. The performance is great. It never struggles in long range detection, but the blind spot filtering is just lagging behind everything else at this point. So kind of reminds me of the original Redline with great performance, but the filtering was kind of lagging. I kind of see a similar thing here with the Unitons, which is interesting. So let's see. Oh, here we go. Brand Theron. I'm still using it, but I'd highly recommend JBV1 for road trips, even when using different detectors. Yeah, me too. I like it better than just running Waze alone. I find the way it notifies if things up ahead, it just does a better job. It looks for like alerts that have been confirmed and verified, or even highway radar. It also takes into account crowdsourced information like that, aircraft info, etc. That's a great app. JBV1 can be, it's a lot. It's complicated. Down in the video description, I've got a link to JBV1 where you can download it, and the tutorials that I put together on that. It's a complicated app. It's the most capable app out there, but it's hard to learn and it's kind of complicated. Highway radar is going to be much simpler. I honestly still need to spend some time learning all the ins and outs, and it looks like it may be completely redesigned in the coming future as well, which is kind of one of the reasons I'm holding off on doing a tutorial on it right now. But for a simpler thing, if you're not running the V1, you can get a lot of the really cool features like the aircraft notifications and stuff just by running highway radar. So I've got a link to that in the video description too. So yeah, a bunch of stuff down there as always. So that's also a really good choice. I'll probably play with that too, just to see what it's like, but I'm still kind of learning the settings and the interface and stuff. Oh, Michael Scott, cool name. Any word on the V1 Gen 2 remote display? Actually, yes. So somebody got one on RDF. I posted it on Facebook and Instagram and all that kind of stuff earlier this week. It's now shipping. It's not officially available yet on their website. And the reason is they're still backlogged with trying to ship out actual V1s and deal with returns for like old V1 Gen 1s and the upgrades to Gen 2. So they're still kind of swamped with that. So they're not officially advertising it on their website, but you can call and order the V1 Gen 2 concealed display. I've got one on order. It should be in next week. And so I'll do a video kind of posting it here with the Gen 2, with the Gen 1 concealed display, all that kind of stuff. So I'm planning on doing a video, but if you call and order, I'm not sure like how many they have and all that kind of stuff, but a couple of us have ordered and they're now shipping. So yeah, that's kind of something to keep an eye on in the coming future. I want to get some upcoming videos of like best radar detector stuff, as well as ideally the Gen 2 concealed display video up before I leave. I fly out September 15th and I start the road trip on September 16th. So just kind of 2 weeks or so. It's kind of the time frame I'm looking at. Antonio, how's the baby doing? She's great. She's 13 months now. I spent the whole morning just playing with her and walking around the neighborhood, saying hi to neighbors and playing with toys with her. Ton of fun. So I got the morning with her great. And now that she's down for the first nap, I'm watching her on the baby monitor. Hopefully she's got a long nap so we can hang out here and live stream together. But she's doing great. So I'm really glad. It's nice watching her grow and develop and stuff. Rush racing. If you go through Wyoming and South Dakota on your trip, a good chance you'll lose cell signal when you're between cities. Yeah, definitely. That's always going to be one of the tough things with making sure, I guess, you cache your Google Maps and stuff. Waze is not going to work in those areas. I saw a comment earlier today of like, oh, I don't need a radar detector. I just run Waze. And what about if you're in an area with no cell service? What if you're coming across a cop who just arrived and hasn't been parked there. So it's always like multiple layers of protection, radar detector, laser jammer, Waze, JBV1, all that kind of stuff. Like they're all great tools, but none of them replace the other tools. They're more complementary tools that work well as a complete package. So yeah, as far as like my ultimate countermeasure set, I think, or for road trips, V1 Gen 2, JBV1, and ALP. And I guess you could run Waze as well, but JBV1 kind of takes that into account. So yeah, radar detector, app, and laser jammers are kind of the complete package. Let's see. Potato cannon. Have you had issues flying with the radar detectors? No. They don't care about that stuff. You can take it with you just fine and carry on whatever. You can take it in your checked luggage and it's just fine. There's no issues traveling with radar detectors, at least here domestically in the US. I don't know about going abroad to other countries where they may be banned or something. I don't know how that works specifically, but here in the US, I mean, I've gone to Canada with them. It's been fine. The Cobra. It'd be great to have a radar detector app that would work with Android Auto. It would. There's usually restrictions. I know people have asked about that with JBV1, and there's issues like it doesn't fit cleanly into any of the categories for Android Auto, and so it's tough to actually get it approved for Android Auto because it's more of a Google limitation. People would love to have that. I'd love to have it too for Android Auto or V1 Driver with CarPlay for us iOS users, totally. But it's tough to get that approved with Apple and Android and Google. That's the reasons why we see limitations on that stuff. Let's see. Lon, I don't know what happened, probably an upgrade, but I'm happy that I didn't give up on the V1 Gen 2 with JBV1. It's been flawless. Yeah, it's a fantastic package by all means. Filters magnificently, and the police warnings have been clutch. Totally. Yeah, it's a great package for sure. I think we're all just kind of like holding off and waiting on Thea to see what that's like. But I mean, we have great detectors already available now. Thea's going to come. If it lives up to expectations, it should be better than anything we have now. But there's already great options now that can already offer us a ton of protection, So I guess that's just how it is with tech stuff in general. There's a new iPhone that's coming out in a month or two or whatever, the iPhone 12, but there's already got an iPhone 8. Still works fine. Shoots 4K video. I use it for my videos all the time. Like, yeah, I want to upgrade, but there's already good stuff that's available now. And I think that's kind of how a lot of the stuff is with radar detectors is there's good stuff now, but there's always going to be better stuff coming in the future. Welcome to tech, Gohar, laser detection. Which radar detector? Don't care. Doesn't matter. It's not a good way to protect you from laser. Honestly, Waze is going to do a better job of protecting you from laser than any radar detector can, because you can actually get marked and notified before the officer shoots you. With laser, they have to be stationary to shoot it. So Waze is going to be a great way to get notified. A radar detector, if it even alerts, it's in general only going to alert once you get shot with lasers. It's not really that useful. So radar detectors for radar, laser jammers and or Waze for laser. Don't rely on a radar detector. Anyone. I don't care if it's even the V1. Even though it can maybe in ideal situations protect you, it's not going to be a reliable way to keep you protected. So Rush Racing, is JBV1 really that much better than V1 Driver? In my opinion, yeah. I've got videos on both of them already. V1 Driver, think of it as more of like adding GPS lockouts and low speed muting and alert logging. It's mainly additional false alert filtering and like muting for the V1 versus V1 Driver or JBV1 adds extra external information, weather information, crowdsourced alerts from other drivers. You can get heat maps showing where cops commonly are located, not just where they actively are now, but places where they like to set up speed traps. You can get the app actually reprogramming your detector as you drive to different areas. I mean, it can integrate with the TMG laser jammer, so you got radar and laser in one package. Like, it just does so much more that it's not just adding false alert filtering to your V1 the way that V1 Driver is. It's like kind of turning your whole car into a rolling command center. That's more of what JBV1 is about. That's why people are so excited about it. That's why I like it. It's kind of like the central hub for a lot of your countermeasure protection. It's not just additional false alert filtering for your V1. Armin Nouriani, cool name. Is the Redline 360C worth the price after all the recent updates, or is there still better options? If you're tech savvy, and this is going to be a big part of the video that I'm going to be releasing next week that I haven't shot yet, but the one I spent 2 days kind of working on the outline. If you're tech savvy, if you're cool with running apps and getting things like JBV1 set up, this is awesome. It's a great way to save some cash. It's $250 less than here. It's not going to be as convenient as taking something like this that you can just slap on the windshield and it starts doing all of the lockouts. It starts doing all that stuff for you, The Redline also has the multi-radar detection. The V1 doesn't have that, and it can't add multi-radar detection via an app, so there's still reasons to get the Redline 360C, and this is my daily driver. Like, I'm sitting here having to recharge my JBV1 phone because the battery dies, and on drives, it doesn't charge up fast enough to fully recharge. So the next time I start driving, the battery is dead there again, and I have to bring the phone back home to like recharge it, and sometimes I forget to bring it back to the car, and now I don't have my lockouts for the V1. So it's more set up front, and it's kind of a headache if you're reliant on a phone sometimes. If you have your phone with you always, it's going to make it simpler. But if you've got a second dedicated phone, it's not quite as seamless. And so I like the Redline. It's just a self-contained package. You put it on the windshield, and it always works. I mean, you've got Wi-Fi in the car. It updates itself for you. Like, it just takes care of everything for you. So it's definitely more convenient. But if you're cool with a little bit more work, it's a great way to save $250. So that's kind of going to be one of the themes of that video. You guys will see. Let's see, Armin, ThinkWare U1000 or VFO A129 Pro Duo. I've got a video about that, like the best dash cams video that I did with Alex a little while ago. I prefer the VFO, to be honest. I mean, I don't really think the ThinkWare is really worth the extra money in that situation. I like the VFO. The quality's great. You've got your buffered park recording. I prefer that one, to be honest. I've got the ThinkWare. I'm thinking about taking it for the road trip just because I don't have to double check this. I think I can get latitude and longitude information displayed there. And if so, I can get the parked recording just with an OBD2 connector. So it'll be easier to wire into the moving truck. But I personally think the VFO A129 Pro Duo is the way to go. It's a couple $100 less. And yeah, I think that's the better way to go. And if you can tell me, like, you saw the video, but you're still confused, whenever I see that, I always think I didn't do a good enough job of explaining it. So let me know specifically so that when I do the upcoming video for this year, what things can we talk about? Does the VFO have buffered parked recording? Yes, it does. I think we talked about that in the video, maybe not, but yeah, it does buffered parked recording too. It doesn't have the cloud stuff. It doesn't have voice notifications, but it's got buffered cloud recording. So yeah, it's a great choice. And yeah, the VFO A119 V3, Leo, the update no longer has WDR. I think you're right about that. It's got some new features and stuff. I think it does like 1440p 60, but I think they did drop the WDR stuff. So if you need that, I guess run older firmware if that's super critical to you. I personally leave that stuff off a lot of times. I see weird kind of artifacting with WDR stuff, so I usually turn that off. But hey, buddy, say hi. Say hi. What, you want to lick my hand? Of course you want to lick my hand. So let's see. Molar Medic. I have a ThinkWare front and back system, the F750. Just started having issues with the dash cam not shutting properly in parking mode. What do you mean not shutting properly? Like not switching into parking mode or not? Let me know a little bit more about what you mean with that. What do you think of the Rexing, the Pro Max? Is the Rexing V1 Pro Max 4K? Wow, that's quite a name. I've noticed a lot of the lower end 4K dash cams are not actually 4K. They record at lower resolution and then they artificially upsample to 4K, and they're usually like 24 FPS. So it's not true 4K. I noticed the Rexing tend to be kind of more simple, basic budget dash cams. So I don't know if that's legitimately 4K. I'd have to look it up. But I'm usually not a huge fan of the Rexing ones. Yeah. Let's see. So Molar Medic continuing. The cell links are powering the dash cam in parking mode. Great. But when the cell links drain, the dash cam is not shutting off all of a sudden and killing the battery. I'm sorry. I'm still not following what you're saying. The dash cam is not shutting off all of a sudden and killing. I'm sorry. I'm still not clear what you're asking. Let's see. Do they make a radar detector that will shut off as soon as you get hit? I live in Virginia. There's some kind of lower end detectors that are designed to detect specters and VG2s and stuff. They're usually very detectable and they can't be undetectable. So they're trying to detect radar detectors and then they wind up shutting themselves off. Usually your best choice is get a detector that's undetectable by radar detectors in the first place, and then you don't have to worry about it. I mean, the penalty for having one of these in Virginia is like less than $100 and they don't confiscate your detectors. So just get something that's stealth and undetectable and you're going to be fine. They can cite you if they see the detector in your windshield. So maybe you'd want to custom install one, something that sits in the grill, like a Escort Max CI 360 would be a great choice for that. But so that maybe would be the way to go as the ideal solution, but it's going to be more expensive. Let's see, William Cotton. Do I have shirts in size 2X? I believe so. You'd have to double check, but I think I just selected all the options in there if you want to get a shirt or something. The ones with like the premium cotton are super, super comfortable. So I recommend one of those. And then as far as size, take a look. It should have different sizing options there. Molar Medic. Okay, let's see. The dash cam used to power off after the cell link drained. That's what it's supposed to. Oh, after the cell link is drained completely, sure, the dash cams will turn off. When the cell links both drained, the dash cam still runs and drained my car battery. It should not do that. You may have a wiring issue. The cell link Neo should never be getting battery from your car battery, or it should never be getting power from your car battery. It should only be getting charged from your vehicle's alternator when the car is turned on. So I don't know what's going on with your car of why it's draining your car battery. That may be a wiring issue. And if you didn't change anything, it's strange to see that. So I would take another look at your wiring and just make sure that nothing is getting power from your car battery when your car is turned off. The cell link shouldn't do it. The ThinkWare shouldn't do it. If it is able to get power from your car battery, you've got a wiring issue. So double check your wiring. I don't know why it's starting to happen now. That sounds issue. There's something wrong with your wiring. I don't know why. So that's something that you're going to have to take a look at. There's nothing I can troubleshoot here on my end with that, unfortunately. Just make sure that no power is being supplied to your batteries when the car is turned off, and then you should be fine. Let's see. Armin, I think I'm going to purchase the A129 Pro Duo and the Redline 360C. I think it's a perfect setup. Yeah, they're great options. I've got links in my video description or my website where you can take a look. I know they're going to release a new version of the A129. It's called the Plus Duo. It's an upgraded version of the A129 to where the front camera does 1440p and the rear cam does 1080. The A129, you can really tell the difference with the front cam only being 1080p. So I'm really glad to see that, like the A119 V3, they're bumping up the front camera to 1440p. So that's only available on pre-order. I just saw it on Instagram and stuff recently. But yeah, if you want like a 4K one, the A129 Pro Duo is the way to go. And Richie, you're asking about that as well. Again, the A129 Pro, that's just the standard way to go, I think. The quality is better than the black views. It's like almost half the price of the ThinkWare. You've got buffered parked recording. You got GPS. You got front and rear recording. You got Wi-Fi. You got, a lot of the core features, they're all there. So like that's generally the way that I would recommend. I like the cloud stuff with the black view, but I don't think it's the best bang for the buck. In general, just go get the VFOs. And yeah, that's, I think, in general, the way to go for just a good 4K dash cam. Let's see. Oh, here we go. Pyam Jan, videos are helpful. I got a Redline 360C, but I'm not happy. Yesterday, I was close to getting a ticket. What was the situation? Did you get hit with instant on? Was it laser? Did you get paced? What was the situation? There is no radar detector, including this one, that's going to protect you and make you completely immune from speeding tickets. I don't care how much you spend. Like any detector can still get, you can still get a ticket. So just something to be aware of. Like even Redenso Theo, when it comes out, it's not going to make you immune to radar detectors either, or radar tickets either. So that's just the reality with radar detectors. I've actually been thinking of doing a video of like why radar detectors suck, or something that's like, here's the issues of why they may fail you, or just to, I always want to make sure people have realistic expectations. None of the stuff is perfect, and it's not going to protect you in 100% of situations. So maybe a video going over that. I think I've done some videos like that in the past, but yeah. Robert, do radar detectors, do they protect you in the rain? Yeah, I live in Washington. It rains here, and I still see officers running radar in the rain, and I still get plenty of warning time. In general, I do believe they get less range, but you're still going to get plenty of range even in the rain. So it's hard to do like good A/B testing with dry testing and then rain. You have to like set up a radar gun and then do some runs and then leave it parked in the exact same spot and then come back again later when it's raining. Like it's tough to set up a situation to try to show the difference, but yeah, it's still going to work in the rain. Let's see. Arman, I wish they made a 360-degree camera because the only thing I can think of is when you get T-boned when driving, the front and rear won't catch. I haven't seen any good 360-degree cameras that are good. You run into issues to where it doesn't provide good resolution all the way around because it's such a compromise trying to see everywhere. Plus you run into some like exposure issues to maybe it's exposing for outside, but the inside is too dark, or it's trying to expose for the inside, but then the outside is blown and overexposed. What I've done, my solution is I run 2 separate 2-channel dash cams, and you could do the same thing. So like I do it with black views, you could do the exact same thing with the VFOs. Run 1 camera in the front, a second one in the rear, and then their rear cameras set up as side-facing dash cams. I do it kind of in the rear, facing out the sides, because those windows are fixed. They don't go up and down. So I set the rear cameras up as my side cameras, and then I've got my 360-degree dash cam that way. It doesn't record inside the car, but it records in case you get T-boned, in case somebody approaches the car from the side. It's a great setup for that. So if you're looking for 360 degrees, that might be the way to go. And then you could get a separate interior facing camera if you want that, but that might be the way to go. Richie, is there a 3-cam dash cam setup? Yeah, the Vantru does that. I think it's called like the N4 3-channel or something. I'm not a huge fan of the Vantru dash cams. I've tested 2 different ones. I'm not a huge fan of the mount. It introduces some vibrations. There's no buffered parked recording. But if you want a 3-channel dash cam setup, that could work for that use case specifically and basic parking recording. And I think it's 1440p up front. It's not 4K, but it's okay. If they're hardwired to the car battery for 4 cameras, will it kill the car battery? Of course. It'll do it twice as fast as any other dash cam, but then you need a voltage monitor just to turn off the dash cams after it drains it down a certain point. So you're going to need voltage management in VFO Vantru too. They have all these special power cables that shut off the dash cams once you drain the car battery too low. But of course, they're going to eventually kill the car battery, which is why you put in some sort of voltage management to shut off the dash cams before it drains it too low. So that's how that works. That way you're still able to start your car next time you get back in it. Let's see, Matthew. Okay, so coming back, I think this is the Redline 360 one. I was side by side to an undercover. He slowed down, got behind me, and flicked his radar on. I suspected he was up to something, but the R7 kicked in immediately, and he sped past me knowing he couldn't do anything. Yeah, that's instant on. I mean, radar guns do not always transmit. They can leave them turned off. And so, and then they just come by you. They can pace you and look at their speedometer. Radar detector doesn't go off. If they want to confirm with radar, they can just get behind you or in front of you, flick on their radar gun and get your speed that way. And then, sure, now you've got your speed. That's instant on. That's super classic. And that's a situation where radar detector is not going to help. And so you got to keep your eyes peeled. Yeah. Let's see. Corey STG, look into Streamlabs. I've looked into that. Is that like the OBS kind of upgraded version? I've looked into it. And so that's an option. I think it would be kind of cool to like get your questions and actually post them here on screen. And yeah, I think the donations work better and stuff. So that could be an option. I mean, in the meantime, yeah, you can always do the super chat thing. YouTube does take a percentage with that. I didn't know that you get more if you go through Streamlabs. That's kind of cool. I can take a look into that. But I think I'd want to look into it more to just, I'd like to be able to get maybe something on the computer I can display on screen, or your questions I can pop up on screen. I think that would be cool just to kind of up the video quality and stuff. Right now I'm just using a basic start streaming button on YouTube and boom, here's the video, and I don't get anything fancy on top of it. But that would be cool to get multiple camera angles, and it's just another thing to do. I've got my lights that have been sitting there for months that I still want to like get different colors and stuff. So just things to do, you know. But yeah, totally. I definitely want to take a look at that. Paul Smith, notice there aren't any OBD2 connectors anymore for the Blackview. Do they? Yeah, it's the Power Magic Easy or something. I think it should still be available. That could be an option. If you wanted it, I think it's still for sale. Just search for Power Magic Easy. That's the name of it. Night Owl Tech. Sounds like the officer saw the detector and got behind you to blast you to mess with you. Yeah, potentially. They'll do that sometimes for fun. Jim, I like the R7. Would that be a good choice in Virginia? I don't think so. These things are not completely undetectable by radar detector detectors. And so, I mean, you're going to want something that is more stealth. Some of these are stealth. Some of these are not. There's kind of some inconsistencies that I find with the Unidens. And so I wouldn't necessarily recommend it for Virginia. In that situation, get a Uniden DFR7 or a V1 Gen 2 or a Redline 360C or an Escort Max 360C or something. Like, get something that's stealth. The R7 is not consistently and reliably stealth. I'm going to getting notifications here on my watch. Let's put, oops, do not disturb. Wrong button. Come on, do not disturb. Okay, there we go. Sorry, got that all done. What do you think of the Redline EX radar detector and M1 dash cam combo? I don't like the Redline EX. I don't like the range. I don't like the false alert filtering. That's the one Redline that I don't like. I like the original in its time. I don't like the Redline EX. I like the Redline 360C. So that's kind of just never been a fan of the Redline EX. I don't recommend it. Get a different detector, to be honest. Unless you really want a stealth detector and you want an escort with Escort Live and you want an auto lockout detector and you don't need arrows and you don't want to pay for the Redline 360C. In that really specific case, you could get a Redline EX, but in general, I don't like it and I don't recommend it. So, let's see. Fat Jag, have you never noticed that the K-falses went up in frequency after the last R7 update? I've been beta testing R7 stuff for a while, so I haven't really run 1.29 as much. I do run it from time to time, but I've just been beta testing stuff so much that I'm not as familiar with 1.29. I'll try running it for a little while, and I'm like, wow, this false is a lot more than the Redline 360C or the V1 Gen 2, and then I go back to beta testing stuff with new features, and then shelve the R7 and go back to other detectors, so I'm constantly switching all the time with different detectors. But let's see. Notice radar detector for motorcycle use. I don't cover radar or motorcycle stuff. I tried. That's one of the topics that I'm not good to talk about, but there's great information on the forums by people who actively use that, who can talk about like connecting to your helmet, whether it's wired or wirelessly over Bluetooth with Sena headsets, talking about waterproofing, getting the alert LEDs. For that, you're going to want to talk to somebody who actually rides motorcycles. Just like if you're living in some part of the world that's not North America, you're going to get better information by talking to somebody who actually is more familiar with the threats in your area. So that's one place that I'm really not that good of a resource for. So head to the forum and you can get a lot of great information about that. Matthew Miranda, is there other costs associated with the 360C, like subscriptions and memberships? Yes and no. So there's two things. First off, there's the red light camera database. So if you want the database built into the detector, they normally give you a year for free when you buy it. You can buy 3 years up front. But for that, yeah, they're going to charge you every year. I think it's like $50 a year. I'd say just run Escort Live and you get all the updates for free that way over the phone or over Wi-Fi. The Defender database, if you want it built into the detector itself, that they do charge you for. Now, coming back to the Escort Live stuff, officially, yes, there is a yearly charge, but Escort never, ever charges people for that. If they started doing that, they would almost wipe out their database or their user base. And so they're automatically upgrading users for free. So I would say don't pay for Escort Live itself. This is separate from the Defender database. I'm talking now specifically about Escort Live. You get it with your detector, and then they're going to start upgrading you for free. Actually, I think the Defender database might be 90 days, not a year. I forget off the top of my head. Maybe one of you guys in the chat can let me know. I never pay attention to it because I never buy it. I just let Escort Live handle it. So I never paid attention to those details. But with Escort Live, yeah, I've got detectors that have expired Escort Live subscriptions that have come out since Escort Live was first released. Escort every year will automatically extend your subscription for free so that they don't lose like 90% of their users. So, and then there goes all their crowdsourced alerts. So yes, they're going to give it to you for free, even though officially there is a yearly charge for Escort Live. So that's why I say yes and no, there's a charge to that. Let's see. I got 3 years of Defender database back when I bought my Max, but as a package deal. Yeah, they offer packages with that. I know if you use the coupon code REDSETGO with this one, you get it for free for 3 years. That's what I did when I bought mine. Tilted Brim, what's the best set it and forget it radar detector? I think in that situation, the Escorts are going to have the lead just because you're not reliant on the phone the way you would for the V1. If you can get some set it and forget it stuff, if you take the time to set it up initially with V1 Driver or whatever, you can automate a lot of that stuff. But usually I think when people talk about set it and forget it, you just want something you can stick on the windshield. And that's kind of where Escort's forte is. It's for people who just want something you install and it starts taking care of everything itself. It updates itself. It gives you the cloud stuff. It handles all the lockouts on its own. That's usually where that goes versus something like an R7. Updates can be a little bit problematic here with the computer. The lockouts are manual, so it's going to take some work up front. So it's not quite as set it and forget it the way maybe an Escort is that has auto lockouts and has auto updates, So for that, I generally would recommend the Escorts. Lessiver, Escort 360C. I wish there was, it gets confusing because we've been talking about the Max 360C as the 360C, and now we have the Redline 360C. So whenever we say 360C, we're like, well, do you mean Max 360C? Do you mean Redline 360C? But in general, yes, I think the Redline 360C is better than the R7. I no longer see a point to run the R7 anymore when the Redline 360C is out. It's also got great range, but it's got auto lockouts. It's got better BSM filtering. It also has MRCD. It's got Bluetooth. It's got easier updates. It's got arrows as well. Like, I don't really see much of an advantage unless you really need good quick trigger. Maybe that could be an advantage here, but the Redline 360C is better in almost every way. It's actually RDD immune versus the R7 is not. I mean, it can display the speed limit on screen. Like, it's just got so many advantages that I don't really see a reason to run the R7 anymore now that I have the Redline 360C. This was great when it came out. I love the range and the arrows and all that kind of stuff when it came out. But I just think at this point it's getting surpassed by other detectors. Matthew, $750 is too steep? Yes, it's definitely more expensive. I think the R7, I was looking on Amazon the other day, it's under $500. It was like $466. Yeah, it's definitely cheaper, and that's one of maybe the biggest advantages over the Redline 360C. It's a cheaper option, but cheaper detectors generally are going to have some compromises. Not always, but a lot of times there's going to be some compromises. You spend more, you get more, but you got to spend more to get there. So the better bang for the buck is usually not going to be the most expensive radar detector on the planet. It is $750. It's not $800. With tax, yes, it can get to $800 plus. I paid over $800 for my Redline 360C because of tax, but you also got to pay tax for an R7 or something too. So $750 plus tax or $500 plus tax, you know, trying to keep things apples to apples, you know. Let's see. Bio the guitarist, the Max 360C, is it good with blind spot filtering? Yeah, it's also better than the R7. The latest update, I know some people have been complaining about KA falses with the Max 360C, which is weird. I don't know if it's some of the same stuff that they've got on the Max 3 to where it falses. So I don't know exactly what's going on with that, but there are some KA falses now on the Max 360C. But in terms of BSM filtering specifically, which is your question, yeah, it's better than the R7. Let's see, Brantheron. I always run highway mode on my Escort and Beltronics detectors. Just prefer to be alerted sooner, even around town. Totally. I mean, that's one of the nice things about having options with the detectors is that, well, we have the option. You can set it up the way that you want that's appropriate for your location or for your preferences, you know? So totally, run it the way you want. You got choices, which I think is great. Todd. What's up, Todd? Yeah, it's going well. Thanks for the super chat donation. I appreciate that. Going well. That's a fun, like, working out jelly bean thing or something. Any news on the Mid-City integration or videos on how it works? I don't really have any interest in installing it in my car. There's not really any benefit to me personally. I mean, you can always go on their website and see what it does. It's cool maybe to get like some of the steering wheel controls and stuff, but I rarely run a lot of those detectors. And the only reason, honestly, I would get it is just to show you what it's like on video. And that's cool. Maybe I will at some point. But if I run into somebody who has it in their car, I'll just bring a camera and show you that way. But I don't really see a reason to go out and install it myself. Steve Passy, what's the best remote radar detector for Canada? In general, I prefer the Escort Max 360, the Max CI 360. Gohar Terran. Thanks, Gohar. I appreciate that. Keep it up. Yeah. But for Canada specifically, you've got multi-radar stuff, especially you go into Edmonton or Calgary. Gosh, you got Redflex up there. You got MRCD. You got Dragon Eye. You got like, so go get the ALP instead of the Escort laser shifters. Like, the Redenso RCM and the ALP is the go-to solution in Canada. There's not really another option that I would recommend. I wouldn't recommend the Escort without MRCD stuff. I wouldn't recommend the Escort shifters because of the Dragon Eye. I don't recommend the NetRadar DSP. I think the interface sucks when you combine radar and laser. So Redenso RCM with ALP is the way to go. And go to Alex, kmph.ca for the laser stuff. And I don't know. I forget who the reseller is there for the RCM, but yeah, that's the way to go. Paul Smith. Thanks, Paul. I appreciate that. And Armin, thanks, guys, all for the super chat. I appreciate that. That's really cool. That's money that I use for testing and videos and getting upgraded microphones or getting my live streaming stuff improved and all that kind of stuff. So yeah, that's what I use all the donations for. So thank you. It just helps me make better videos for you guys. I'm getting kind of hungry. I should have brought some food. I'm drinking my coffee, but I want some food too. Let's see. So that was the question. Gohar Terran, V1 Gen 2 versus Redline 360C. That's the video that I'm going to be working on this coming week. So you can expect it in a couple days. So I'm going to be doing R7 and some Max 360, but primarily these two specifically. So for that, definitely stay tuned. In general, I like this as my daily detector. I like this as my road trip detector. And you'll kind of see why as far as automation and some of the stuff that involves using the phone. But yeah, that's all that kind of stuff I'll definitely be getting into in the upcoming video. So definitely stay tuned for that. And yeah, the squeaky chair. I got rid of the other detector or other chair, and I got this one, and it still squeaks. I'm like, come on. The other chair, by the way, I'd sold to like some couple in the area. It was an older woman who she's been sitting at her chair like this, trying to work from home because the armrests aren't adjustable, and she loved this other chair because she can adjust the armrest height. So I'm super happy that it went to her because now she's like, 65 years old, just sitting like this. I'm like, come on. So now she's got a chair that she's comfortable in. And I'm just so grateful that she's going to have a better experience working from home with this whole quarantine thing. So that's where the other chair went. And I'm really, really glad. But yeah. So that's where that is now. But this one still squeaks. And I'm like, come on. So tried to solve it. Didn't solve it. Bummer. Man down. From your link on RDF, Maryland seems to have everything also. Yeah, one of the big things was whenever we talk about low-powered radar stuff, we talk about MRCD or MRCT typically, but there's also Redflex, there's Gasto, there's Mesta-Fusion, there's Polyscan, there's so many different photo radar systems. Xerox has one. There's tons of stuff. So we've kind of been like just compiling all the information of what do these systems look like and where are they located and what detectors do you need to pick those up and what settings do you need. And, so like we've just been, I guess, spending time getting all that stuff. I posted some stuff on Facebook about that, and it's on the forums as well. But I think, I'm hungry. Yeah, it's not my chair growling. It's my stomach growling. Just about. I'm getting kind of hungry here. How long have we been going? Should have brought some food. The R7 false is too much in town. Yeah. I mean, you got your lockouts, you got your low speed muting, but I was running the R3 the other day, and you get your Mazdas, Honda, Chrysler Pacifica. The K-Block definitely helps on that, but still the 24167 falses. That's one of the biggest differences, honestly. I notice when I run the R7s and the R3s and stuff, I just get more falses than I do with V1 Gen 2 and Redline 360C. So let's see, Robert, my GMC is 5 gigahertz and won't connect to Mac or to the Wi-Fi for my 360. It needs to be 2.4. Is there a fix for that? There's no fix. It's a hardware limitation. If they don't build in 5 gigahertz Wi-Fi into the S-Core detectors, it's not able to connect to it. And you can't get a firmware update if it doesn't have the hardware to support 5 gigahertz in the first place. And so unfortunately, that's just a limitation. And I really hope S-Core starts fixing that with their next generation detectors. It sucks that they're stuck with 2.4. A lot of stuff now is adding 5.0, but it's usually only older stuff at this point that supports 2.4. And yeah, it's unfortunate. I really hope they start adding 5 gigahertz. So S-Core, if you're watching this, please start adding dual band 2.4 and 5 gigahertz Wi-Fi to your future detectors. Quit doing just 2.4. I know a lot of people are having these issues, and yeah, it doesn't connect. Running an R3, should I wait for Thea or buy the Redline 360C? That's a great question. I don't have a good answer for that. You can always buy a detector and use it now and sell it later if you want to upgrade to the latest and greatest, but we're still waiting on Thea, and it'll come out when it's going to come out. And if it lives up to expectations, yes, it will be better than the Redline 360C, but we got to see when it comes out. That's always a tough question. There's never a good answer to it, but if it's around the corner, maybe it would be worth waiting, And if you need a detector now, go get a Redline 360C, go get a V1 Gen 2, get an R7, upgrade by all means. It's not like a custom install detector that's a pain in the butt to install and then swap out. Those are tough, but these things, when a new one comes out, just take it off your windshield, sell it on eBay or the forums or Facebook Marketplace or wherever. Just put the new one back in place. Put the new one in place. Done. It's really easy to upgrade those. It's one of the things I like about the windshield mounts. The custom installed, I got a bunch of custom installed stuff, and if Thea comes out and it's better than everything else, I'm like, well, I don't need all this custom installed stuff that I got installed in the car and I paid to install. Like, it's so much better when new stuff comes out to have a windshield mount. Like, I think honestly, this is a pretty terrible time to get a custom installed one. If you want a custom installed and you're just completely against a windshield mount, totally go get an RCM or a Maxi i360. But if you're looking for the best, I don't think this is a good time to go get a custom installed because Thea, we got to see when it comes out. It's likely better to be anything or better than anything currently available, windshield mount or custom install. So yeah, for Thea, they are saying under $1,000. I don't know if that means $999.99. Is it going to be $850? Is it going to be $900, $950? Like, I don't know the price. We'll all have to see, but they are still saying under $1,000. That'll be interesting here because this is kind of the one, like if you want built-in lockouts and MRCD and stuff, it does false, just like every other detector. Falses to multi-radar, it falses to BSMs. Whereas we'll have to see, I mean, Thea should be much better as far as what we've seen in the development. Like, if they can identify different police radar guns that shoot continuous wave, identifying Mazda, Honda, MRCD, MRCT, that's trivial compared to classifying different like continuous wave police radar guns. So, yeah. Let's see. Is the Redline 360C worth the $250 jump from the Max 360? The Max 360 is going to be a better deal. I mean, you save $250. You get the lockouts. You get decent range. You get good BSM filtering. The Redline 360C, if you need RDD immunity, that's definitely the way to go. If you drive in an area where they're banned, it does have longer range. It's got better BSM filtering. I like the mount better. I don't know if I would pay $250 for the mount, but this is the one, like if you really want long range, you want really good BSM filtering, and you want RDD immunity, you need an undetectable detector, the Redline's the way to go. But the Max 360 for $250 less, it'll still keep you protected. So, yeah, I mean, I guess once you start getting to higher end detectors, you start getting into like diminishing returns, you know? So it's not like these are going to be light years better than something else that costs $500 or $300 even. I mean, the Max 3 or the R3, it's still going to be a great choice too. It still keeps you protected. May not have arrows, may not have auto lockouts or Bluetooth or that kind of stuff. You're going to get more when you pay more, but I mean, the R3 is still going to do a good job of keeping you protected. Same with the Max 360, you know? So, yeah. How much do you think you've invested in detectors and other toys? I've never ran that number. I don't know if I want to. Take a look at all the stuff that's installed in my cars and radar guns that are on the shelf there or in the closet or in that closet. Like, it's a fair amount of money, but it's fun, you know? It's fun. So luckily, sometimes I get the stuff for free. Sometimes I pay for it, which definitely helps because I'm not a multimillionaire. I'm not a YouTuber with 10 million subscribers. You want to go out, buddy? I think my mom just came back. 1 second. All right, you want to go? Go! Mom's out gardening, so Luna's still sleeping, thank goodness. So it's just a relaxed Sunday. Baby's asleep. Mommy ran to Target, run some errands. We're going to see some friends later today. So, Matthew, anything new from Unit and about the R7 updates? We're all still wondering. So I know the lawsuit has just been settled. What was the term? Like with prejudice or something? Like I forget. So they can't go back to court anymore. So a lot of the stuff is still kind of protected. They didn't release the results of the settlement, but it looks like the lawsuit is settled. I don't know if that means Uniden is going to be able to do auto lockouts. I don't know if it means they're going to have to pay licenses, and so the price is going to go up. I don't know if that means they're going to have to pay like damages. I don't know if they're going to be able to do auto lockouts in the first place. But in the next coming months, I guess we're going to be able to find out. Are they going to be able to do auto lockouts? I really hope so. It's been kind of a pain. I feel bad. It's like they told me, yeah, they're going to add auto lockouts, but then it just became a pain with all of the lawsuit stuff. And yeah, that was a big pain. So hopefully we're finally going to actually see it, auto lockouts, because it's a great feature. And hopefully they can improve the BSM filtering too. We'll have to see. Those are, I think, the two main things I'd like to see with the R7. Auto lockouts and better BSM filtering. Bluetooth would be nice too, but yeah. Gohar. I had two R7s and a V1 Gen 2 simultaneously. Went with the Gen 2 for my daily and sold the R7. I still have an R7 sitting around. Is the Redline 360C worth selling the R7? You got awesome detectors already. It's not like you need a detector, but yeah, the Redline 360C is going to be better than the R7. I mean, if it's worth the extra $250, you already got good detectors, but I like it better. And I'll talk about that more in the upcoming video this week, but you'll see. Bio the guitarist, thank you for the super chat. Does the Redline 360C and Max 360C have the same range? It does not. I actually tested those two specifically, and yeah, the Redline 360C definitely does outperform the Max 360C, and it can be a noticeable difference too. Not sure which one to get. I'm really focused on range, and that's all. So if that's the case, yes, get the Redline 360C. I know we were talking about the Defender database stuff. They do charge you for that. So if you head over to my website and you take a look, there's a link there for like the coupon code. It's RedSetGo. Use that and it'll give you a free 3-year Defender database. So you don't have to keep paying for that. So get that when you buy the Detector. I think it's still on back order. They said like September 20th or something is when it's going to be available. Usually with those detectors, they're available for a little while. They fulfill all the back orders and then they sell out again. So it's just one of those where like if you want it, you put your order in. And it's a similar situation with the Gen 2s, the V1 Gen 2s. I guess it's COVID stuff, supply and demand, they just supply chain stuff. So if you want one, yeah, go order one. And as soon as it's available, it'll ship out. So that's the way to do that. And then just use the coupon code RedSetGo and you'll get the Defender database for 3 years for free. So take a look at that. I've got a link in the video description to the Detector, or you can go on my website and you got them there too. Ryan, let's see. I had the old V1. Okay, I'm really glad you asked this, Ryan. Let's talk about this. It costs $399 to upgrade or trade in. Is it worth it? Should I keep the V1 and buy the Gen 2? Now is a really bad time to send in your V1 Gen 1 and upgrade it to a Gen 2. If you buy one of these, oh, the code doesn't work anymore? Oh, that sucks. Thanks for telling me. I didn't know that. I'll take it down off my website. I'll double check and I'll take it down. Okay. I guess, Bio, you don't need the code, but I'm trying to get you guys stuff for free when I can, you know, not pay full price if you can. So that's what that's about, but bummer that's gone. Anyways, if you send in a Gen 2, or a Gen 1, people have been waiting for over a month for the trade-ins. They've stopped accepting trade-ins right now on Gen 1s because they've gotten so many. If you buy one, they're on back order, but they'll send it out as soon as they can. If you send in your Gen 1, you're going to sit around for weeks. Again, people have waited over a month for a Gen 2 if they send in a Gen 1 with the upgrade. So right now, I would not recommend sending it in for the upgrade. You can sell your Gen 1 for more than Valentine will give you for the upgrade. So what I would recommend is sell it on Facebook or whatever. Just definitely let people know that like what version is on there. There's obviously the new version, but not everybody knows. So definitely be clear on you're running version 3.8945 or whatever, and let people know, you know, here's the status. Is it the latest Gen 1 version or not? Not everybody knows. So people may go buy a 20-year-old V1 thinking it's the newest version and it's not. So just let people know with that for the sake of being upfront. But yeah, just sell it yourself. You'll get more for it. You can put that money towards the Gen 2 and you'll get your Gen 2 sooner. So that's the way, honestly, I would recommend right now because the trade-ins are kind of just so backlogged right now. So let's see. Do you think, let's see, Jason, do you think the Redline 360C will announce verbally the KA frequency? It doesn't. It doesn't do that, unfortunately. It would be cool. I don't think Escort Live does that. You can always just look up at it, but it doesn't announce the frequency. It'll just announce KA band or something. And that's one of the reasons why in videos you'll see us go 33.842 or whatever. So we can always go back later and like reference that, especially if the radar detector is off camera. So now it's like, oh, 33.8 detection or whatever. Jay Smoke, thanks from Alberta. You're very welcome. Was actually like, I kind of want to go back up to Alberta just to go do some like MRCD testing again or some Redflex testing or whatever. Like you guys have everything up there. I want to get shot with a Dragon Eye again. It'll be fun to drive up, but it's a drive. I mean, nice to go back and stop, you know, go cruise through Jasper and Banff, but tough to do that with a baby, you know, but I'd love to go back up to Alberta again and just run the gauntlet of what you guys experience every day. Brand, the R1 announces KA frequency. It does, yeah. The Uniteds have that option. The V1 has that with the band or with the apps. The R7 has that. The Escort does not. R7 needs lockouts already, the auto lockouts, no firmware. I don't know what the deal is. I know Uniden wants to release new firmware updates. I don't know why they haven't, to be honest. There's a bunch of updates. I know we talked about that in previous videos. There's actually been a kind of a leak of like most of the changes. There have been some additional changes since what we talked about previously as far as all the new features and stuff, but most of the features are already posted for the next update on the forums. You can take a look at that. But there's new stuff that's been kind of added since. Uniden, yeah, this detector definitely is light. I don't know the exact, here, oh, wait a minute. I'm glad you asked. If you're curious, let's do this. For quarantine stuff, I've been doing more like mailing stuff from home. And so I need to get weights of different packages. So I bought a scale off Amazon for like $10. It's designed for weighing coffee grinds or whatever. So why not? We can weigh some detectors if you guys are curious about the weight. All right, so tear. All right, so we'll do it, I guess, first R7. So this is with the suction cup mount, 7.8 ounces. And then without the mount, let's see if it makes a difference, 6.9 ounces. So there's R7. So about 7-ish ounces. Next, let's do V1 Gen 2. Put that on the scale. 6.9 ounces. Wow, really? That's with the mount. Without the mount, V1 Gen 2 is 6.5 ounces. So the V1 Gen 2 is actually lighter than the R7, and that's surprising because this has a plastic shell, this has a metal magnesium shell, and it's lighter than the R7. Wow, I didn't know. You learn something every day. That's why we test and try stuff. That's how we figure it out, you know? Finally, let's test with the Redline 360C. 15.3 ounces. It's double the weight of the other detectors. Okay, let's try it now without the mount. 13.0 ounces. So yes, it's almost double the weight of the V1 and the R7. I didn't know. You learn something every day. So thanks for asking. There you go. There's numbers. So just testing it here with my scale. But yeah, with all the shipping from home now, I'd ship out USPS or UPS if I need to ship whatever. So that's been helpful. But anyway, put my scale down and put all this stuff back. My R7 bounces a lot with the mount. Escort magnetic bound is way better. It is, yeah. This thing with the mount, and it's kind of light, so it does bounce a little bit. The blend mount helps with that. But yeah, some of the detectors like this one, I think this is a little bit better. This one's kind of weird. Like if you try to press the button, sometimes it slides back in the mount, so it's good to just push it all the way back. That's kind of a funny thing here, but this I do find to be kind of the most solid and steady mount. Like it doesn't bounce, bouncy roads or whatever. Like it's a nice solid mount. I like it. So add rubber bumpers to the R7. Yeah, it's got the bumper here for the windshield, like right there, this little nub thing. But yeah, these things, they're kind of bouncy and stuff. I have a lot of suction cup issues with the Unidents. You guys saw my post on like Facebook and stuff where I was boiling the suction cups for the Unidents because the Unident suction cups suck. They keep failing on me and I keep having to try to swap them out and they lose their suctiony stuff. And actually, even after boiling, I was running the R3 in the car and still like one of it, the R3 is like both are stuck and then one suction cup pops off. And I'm not a fan of the Unident suction cups. I'm really not. Let's see, Slover. I can't decide between the R7 and the V1 Gen 2. I'm worried about the falses on the R7, but I really like the altogether package. Yep. If you want something self-contained, R7, or maybe Max 360, to be honest, same price as the R7. If you don't need all-out range, get a Max 360. If you want better filtering, stay away from the R7. Get a V1 Gen 2 or get a Max 360. If you want a self-contained package with good range and good false alert filtering, that's where this guy comes into play. Yes, it costs more, but that's where it comes into play. So I guess it depends on what you want, you know? So that's kind of where that stuff comes into play. Let's see. Add the detector near the windshield. Unit requires a windshield mount. Let's see. I use a big suction cup mount for the R7. Yeah. The big single suction cup mount is better. It's kind of big and bulky like this one, but I think it is a little bit more stable. I've got mine over there somewhere. I don't like it when I'm shooting with GoPro stuff. It's the big suction cups, just they don't look that great on camera. It just does wonky stuff. So, but yeah, a lot of times when I'm doing testing and stuff, I'll stick this on and I'm trying to get my runs done before the detector falls off the windshield. I've actually been like, whenever I'm shooting videos and the suction cups fail and the detector falls off, I've got it marked as like blooper or suction cup fail. It's like my girl's waking up. So I'm thinking maybe of one day just having like a fun blooper reel of detectors falling off the windshield, because I probably got like 20 or 30 video clips of every detector falling off or hanging by the power cable or whatever. But looks like Luna is waking up, so that might be my cue to head out here. Looks like she had a good nap, about an hour. Great. Okay, so last couple questions here. High on the windshield versus blend mount. How does it affect the range? Not really that much. I mean, in general, sure, higher is better, but it's not going to double or triple your range. I mean, if you're coming over a hill, okay, a higher mount could give you a little bit better ability to see over it for sure. But then you've also got other things as far as like, detectors may fall off the windshield if you're using something like that, or on a blend mount, it may actually block your visibility a little bit more under the rear view mirror versus up high in the rear view mirror, you can actually see a little bit better. And so I find like if I'm making a right turn, the detector, if it's blocking the view on the blend mount, it blocks the visibility a little bit, you know? So that's the stuff that I find to be more of a trade-off than like, okay, if it's mounted a few inches higher, do I get better range? Power cable may be easier if it's mounted up by the rearview mirror. So that's the biggest stuff that I see. For me, this I can't fit it by the rearview mirror because it's too bulky with the mount. So I have to put it on a blend mount. So that's the stuff that really I find is the biggest difference. So if you're looking between it, take a look at that, you know? So anyway, with that said, I am feeling really hungry, so I'm gonna go get some food. I'm gonna go pick up my girl. See her just sitting up in the crib. So that's it for now. And so thanks so much for tuning in, everybody. Yeah, definitely stay tuned. Next coming week, it'll be kind of best radar detector videos. So there'll be one for best radar detectors, your high-end ones. And then I also want to do like kind of best mid-range detectors. I don't know if I'm going to be able to get both of those detectors or both of those videos out next week because those definitely take time, but stay tuned for those. Other than that, thanks so much for tuning in, everybody. Have an awesome rest of your weekend, and I'll see you guys all later. Bye.